Listen, before Babel, before the rise and fall of civilizations, before the first scribe ever pressed stylus into clay, there was a voice in the garden, a voice that carried the weight of divine knowledge, the first human words ever formed. Adam, the father of mankind, the first prophet, spoke a language unlike any we know today. Not Arabic, not Hebrew, not any tongue preserved in ancient texts. His speech was something purer, something unbroken. The Quran tells us Allah taught him the names of all things, not just labels, but their essence, their reality. Imagine a language where every word perfectly captured the truth of creation, where speech was not just communication, but revelation. Modern linguistics struggles to explain the origin of language. Some theorists argue it evolved from grunts and gestures, a slow refinement over millennia. But the Quran presents a different narrative, one where language was a divine gift, bestowed with perfect clarity from the very beginning. Cognitive scientists now acknowledge that language doesn't just describe the world, it shapes how we perceive it. The structure of a language influences thought itself, a concept known as linguistic relativity. Now, consider Adam's tongue, a language designed not by trial and error, but by the Creator of all things. What would that do to the human mind? How would it shape understanding? Islamic scholars have debated for centuries whether Adam's original language still exists in some form. Some suggest it was a proto-language, a root from which all human speech eventually branched. Others argue it was entirely unique, a mode of expression so pure that no descendant tongue could fully replicate it. The Quran does not name the language, only its divine origin, and perhaps that silence is intentional, because the deeper question isn't about phonetics or grammar. It's about what was lost when humanity fell from that primordial state. Listen, there's a profound difference between how Adam spoke and how we speak now. His words carried no ambiguity, no deception. Islamic tradition holds that lying entered human speech only after the fall from Eden. In that original language, falsehood may have been impossible, not because Adam was incapable of sin, but because the structure of his speech was intertwined with truth. Modern psychology hints at something similar. The more abstract language becomes, the easier it is to distort meaning. Euphemisms, wordplay, half-truths, these are the tools of a fallen world. Adam's language, by contrast, may have been one of absolute clarity, where every utterance aligned with reality. Consider how the Quran describes the prophets who came after Adam. Each was given revelation in a language their people could understand, yet all carried the same core truth. This suggests that the essence of Adam's speech wasn't in its syntax, but in its connection to divine wisdom. When Musa spoke to Pharaoh, when Ibrahim debated the idolaters, when Muhammad recited the Quran, they were, in a sense, reaching back toward that original purity. Not in the words themselves, but in their unbreakable link to truth. Listen, the loss of Adam's language is more than a historical curiosity. It's a metaphor for the human condition, our struggle to communicate not just with each other, but with our own souls. How much of our speech is noise? How often do we use words to obscure rather than reveal? The Quran constantly calls believers back to mindful speech. Say what is true, even if it is bitter. The prophets didn't just convey messages, they restored, as much as possible, that original clarity between word and meaning. So what did Adam speak? We may never reconstruct its sounds or grammar, but the Quran's description of him learning the names of all things suggests a language where knowledge and speech were one, a mode of expression where to name something was to understand it completely. That level of linguistic purity is beyond us now, but its lesson remains. Language is sacred. It can be a bridge to truth or a weapon of distortion. Every time we speak, we choose which legacy to continue. Perhaps the most striking detail is that Allah taught Adam language before teaching him repentance. Speech came before sin, which means our first and oldest gift is communication, not just with each other, but with the divine. The original language may be lost, but its purpose endures, to convey truth, to reflect reality, to honor the trust placed in human words. Listen, that is a responsibility worth remembering every time we open our mouths.